Convocation is now in session. As Chancellor, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 313th Convocation. Before we proceed with the ceremony, I'd like to call upon Professor Jan Polgar to present Western University's land acknowledgement.
As we begin our celebration of our graduating students, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that our beautiful Western campus is situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Attawandaron people, who have long-standing relationships to the land and region of southwestern Ontario and the City of London. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. In the region, there are 11 First Nation communities and a growing Indigenous urban population. Western values the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island. Miigwech.
To all our graduates, first let me say, congratulations. You've worked hard to achieve this. Graduation represents a major milestone in your lives. At Convocation, we assemble as a university community to celebrate and recognize your achievements at Western and to wish you every success for the future. Your learning days are far from over. Learning is a lifelong process. Western has not provided you with answers to all questions. At most, we hope that what stays with you is a way of thinking objectively, approaching problems with an open mind, and a healthy respect for new ideas, all tempered with compassion and empathy for the human condition. You are forever a cherished member of this great university, founded more than 140 years ago. We welcome you into the Western family. Again, congratulations to each and every one of you. Today, we also confer an honorary degree upon Jerome Dempsey, in acknowledgement of his achievements as an internationally recognized researcher and leader in the field of basic and clinical pulmonary and integrative physiology. As a Western alumnus, we celebrate his passion for teaching, and we look forward to honoring him as a distinguished mentor to the many undergraduate and graduate students who have benefited from his scientific expertise. To present our distinguished candidate, I now call upon Dr. John Kowalchuk, Faculty of Health Sciences.
Dr. Jerome A. Dempsey. Dr. Jerome A. Dempsey was born in London, Ontario, where he completed his elementary and secondary schooling. He received a Bachelor of Arts, Biology and Physical Education from Western in 1961. Dr. Dempsey wrote at that time that, "At Western, I had been introduced to scientific inquiry by the enthusiastic example set by one of my professors, Michael Uhas." Dr. Uhas was a former faculty member and acting dean of the then Faculty of Physical Education at Western University. Dr. Dempsey received advanced degrees from the University of Alberta, his Master of Science in 1963, and the University of Wisconsin, his PhD in Applied Physiology, before accepting an appointment at the University of Wisconsin, where he eventually became Professor of Preventive Medicine until 2008 and remains Professor Emeritus. Dr. Dempsey is recognized internationally for his research and leadership in the broad field of respiratory and cardiorespiratory pathophysiology as applied to exercise, sleep, hypoxia, several chronic disease states. His research has been supported by 47 years of funding from the National Institutes of Health. His team approach to research emphasizes the training of basic and clinical scientists in respiratory physiology and medicine. As a consequence of Dr. Dempsey's outstanding research career, he has been honored with the Citation Award for Scientific Contributions to the American College of Sports Medicine, an honorary Doctorate of Science degree from the University of Waterloo, and honorary named lectureships, including American Physiological Society's Julius Comro Lectureship and the United Kingdom's Physiological Society's Bayliss Starling Prize Lectureship. The Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology's Sutton Memorial Lecture, and Western University's Canadian Centre for Activity and Aging Peter A. Recknitzer Lectureship. Dr. Dempsey also has served as editor-in-chief of the American Physiological Society's Journal of Applied Physiology and served on several other journal editorial boards and research grant review panels. In addition to the many undergraduate students that have benefited from Dr. Dempsey's scientific expertise and his love of science and teaching, he has mentored over 60 doctoral students and postdoctoral fellows, including 15 Canadians, in kinesiology, biomedical engineering, veterinary science, and physiology. Importantly, Dr. Dempsey continues to be a friend of Western University and its School of Kinesiology. Dr. Dempsey has returned to London on numerous occasions to visit family and friends. Before many of these visits, Dr. Dempsey would contact me and offer to present guest lectures or seminars to our kinesiology undergraduate and graduate students. On those occasions when we were fortunate and able to coordinate and organize a lecture or seminar, Dr. Dempsey received glowing reviews, not only because of the material presented, but because of the manner in which he presents material and the way he engages and challenges students to think and express their ideas, and if wrong, to use that as a teaching moment. I have not been formally trained by Dr. Dempsey, but I have had the pleasure of knowing him for over 20 years, and I have benefited from the many conversations and discussions that we have had over the years, and also from my reading of many of more than his 400 research publications that he has co-authored with his research group. During our conversations, I too am challenged to express and defend my points of view, which is always an exhilarating learning experience. Dr. Dempsey speaks highly of Western and the training he received early as an undergraduate student here. He remains a friend of Western and still has many colleagues and friends on faculty here at Western and in London. He returns often for visits to attend homecoming football games with his buddies. A return to Canada, London, and Western is always a homecoming for Jerry. Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and in the name of the Senate, I ask you to confer the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, upon Dr. Jerome A. Dempsey.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa. Congratulations, Dr. Dempsey. On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite Dr. Jerome Dempsey to address convocation.
I was having a chat there with Dean Garland, excuse me. Good afternoon. Greetings to President Chakma, Chancellor Cowan, Dean Garland, to faculty, friends, families. Congratulations to the graduates of 2019. I am thrilled to return home to share this landmark occasion with you. First, graduates, I'd like to address your vocational life after Western, with a special message to those among you whose academic records at Western maybe were less than ideal. While a student here 60 years ago, my encounters with Western's leaders were not as rewarding as suggested by Professor Kowalczyk's kind words today. For example, in my employment as Western's swim meet announcer, I was fired by the athletic director in the middle of a meet. I thought the job was a little boring and to jazz it up a bit. Apparently he didn't appreciate my horse race style of announcing, and especially my singling out my friends for praise for their performances, even when they finished well back in their races. Then the chair of the history department publicly admonished my friend and me, sitting right down there, for selling study notes for the freshman history course, which we had copied from an excellent honors student. The good news was that subsequent to this condemnation, our sales tripled. Combined with my mediocre grades at Western, these events didn't foretell a promising future. Nonetheless, on balance, my experience at Western was highly, highly positive and life-changing because of the inspiring faculty encountered. My interactions with the late Professor Michael Uhas were the pinnacle of my Western experience. Mike was a pioneer in the fitness movement in the late 1950s. He cared deeply about researching and spreading the value of a healthy lifestyle to the masses, and his high energy and devotion to the cause swept some of us willing students along with him on this exciting adventure. Mike's fashion was complemented by the teaching style of his colleague, Professor Jack Fairs, a master coach who demanded all-out efforts and attention to detail in his students and athletes, irrespective of their level of talent. The model presented by these two Western faculty of an enduring devotion to one's profession shouted out to me to settle for nothing less than a vocation that maintains my excitement and a desire to keep learning and improving. I am thrilled that Nancy, Mike's wife, Mike Jr., Peggy, and Jack Fairs are here today. I warn you that you are unlikely to realize your ideal vocation immediately after leaving Western, and there will be multiple adjustments along the way. In my own case, it took several years in and out of graduate schools and jobs before I was convinced that being a scientist was how I wanted to spend most of my time. Even after some early minor success, I had a period 8 to 9 years after leaving Western in which everything went wrong. Nothing seemed to work, and I was failing my students and colleagues. I even tendered my resignation. Fortunately, my department chair and mentor at the University of Wisconsin, a wonderful man, convinced me to try a different approach rather than give up the profession completely. The lesson here was to use failure as a catalyst for change and improvement. The other lesson was to seek insight from those that know you and care about you. So over a year's time, I drastically changed my approach to science, culminating in my participation in a decade-long scientific controversy, which taught me the essence of the scientific process and how I best fit into it. Risky for sure, but life-changing. Thereafter, I moved from an independent, egocentric style of conducting science to stressing collaboration and colleagues. Mentoring became a top priority. I even found that if I listened, I could learn a lot from students. Big revelation to me. Today, I am most proud of the young men and women, including several Canadians and Western grads, that our team trained and nurtured to become independent scientists and teachers. My point here is that you're able to orchestrate positive changes when you're within your own chosen profession, as you learn and reinvent your mission by taking risks. Embrace the challenges, the unexpected twists and turns. Everyone here has a unique story and a different timeline. You alone must determine what and when your next act will be. And if your choices differ from the norm, or from what others might expect of you, be reassured by the old adage, those who dance are often considered mad by those who can't hear the music. Now I'd like you to consider your interdependence with others as you discover your best self. At some time, all of us have had the opportunity to meet certain people who radiate joy. These are those people who are delighted by small pleasures, grateful for larger ones. They're not perfect, but they live for others beyond themselves. Life isn't easy for them as they take on others' burdens, but in this service they have a joy beyond just the moment. Some of my favorite people committed to interdependence are public school teachers who choose to teach children from families living in poverty. Many live desperate lives, hanging by a thread just for day-to-day survival. These teachers offer a unique model, an array of hope for these students for a life of learning and values beyond mere subsistence. It is an unrelenting, often thankless struggle to teach in these environments, yet the teachers I have encountered never seem to deviate from the respect and caring they show every day for these children and their families. Seeking change through social engagement can also be a worthwhile venture in interdependence with others. When I first moved to the US, near your age, the major culture shocks I experienced were widespread racism and a country immersed in a senseless war in Southeast Asia. I participated to a limited extent in the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s, in the anti-war free speech movement, and in black student protests. My heroes were Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, and Nelson Mandela. Exciting, heady stuff for young minds that provided an in-depth education in the affairs of the real world. Today, I would hope some of you would choose to confront some of our persistent societal ills. Combating racism and sustaining a livable environment and democratic freedoms remain at the top of my list. From my perspective, as a teacher and mentor of young adults for 5 decades, I firmly believe your generation, by far and away, is more capable than any other to date to lead these crucial struggles. For my personal commitment to interdependence, I discovered that one-on-one interaction suited my talents. So I spent a few decades involved in the mentoring of fatherless boys and girls, a selfish undertaking motivated by my own childhood experience. This commitment has given so much back, more than it cost, intertwining me with our community and with wise and committed volunteers. It also provided my family and me with enriching, in-depth experiences within the complex lives of these children and their families. So somewhere in your busy life's journey, perhaps when the search for your vocational niche has been at least partially realized, I hope you consider expanding your life experiences through a commitment to others in a way that suits your special needs and talents. I guarantee you, you will feel most fully alive and come to be your best self when you are working with others in the advance of an ideal. Finally, I want to single out your parents and grandparents and friends who have supported you. Graduates, learn from and hold on to the principles and values passed on by those who have given you unconditional love. I grew up in a home just a few miles from here, raised by a mother who from a young age was left on her own with 2 boys and a mortgage. To support her dream that her sons attend Western, she worked double shifts as a nurse and social worker and transformed our home into a magical boarding house. So from childhood through adolescence, I was exposed to a parade of boarders who served as adult male role models and provided real-life lessons through their diversity. Gay and straight, black and brown, young and old, poor and poorer, drunk and sober, ex-convicts, newly landed immigrants, and even some with emotional, mental, and physical disabilities. In looking back, I now believe that our everyday interactions with these fascinating individuals provided a golden opportunity for my big brother and me to embrace a basic tenet in my mother's value system, as expressed best in the admonishment, quote, "You may be the most powerful cat in the room, but I will judge you based on how you treat others with less power than you." To her, indifference to the plight of others was inexcusable. I remind you that you also have mentors in your lives that care about you and are wise in the ways of the world. Value their judgment and the lessons they provide you as you face the future in a world they have already lived in. In closing, allow me to say that as you sit here today in the best country in the world, at one of the major universities, and having completed a significant step forward in your life's journey, what I wish for you is the joy that comes with leaving nothing on the table in the quest to finding your best self. Bon chance.
Thank you, Jerome, for your thoughtful and moving address to our graduates. As an internationally recognized research leader, your research has provided insight into prevention of respiratory issues. You also served as a teacher and mentor to many, inspiring new generations with your scientific expertise and ideals. Distinguished guests, please join me in congratulating Western's newest honorary Doctor of Science, Dr. Jerome Dempsey.
I take pleasure in asking the Vice Chancellor to present to convocation our newly appointed emeritus professors.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor. The designation of Professor Emeritus is an honorary title which recognizes long and distinguished academic service. Will Professor John Kowalczyk please step forward? Professor Kowalczyk joined Western University in 1990 as an assistant professor in the then Faculty of Kinesiology with a cross-appointment in the Faculty of Medicine. He became a full professor in 2009. John has supervised 4 successful PhD students and 12 master's students during his time at Western. He has published 117 peer-reviewed articles. John has been heavily involved in the service to the school, faculty, university, and scholarly community throughout his career. Mr. Chancellor, may I present Professor Emeritus John Kowalczyk. Will Professor Gregory Marsh please step forward? Professor Marsh is from the School of Kinesiology, cross-appointed in the Department of Medical Biophysics. He received his BA, B.Ed., MA, and PhD, all from Western. Prior to joining Western in 1982, Professor Marsh was a science and math teacher with the Elgin Board of Education. At Western, he has published 48 peer-reviewed papers on metabolism and skeletal muscle function and aging and bone density. Professor Marsh served as chair of the graduate program in the department and as the undergraduate chair of the School of Kinesiology. His research, service, and teaching have been a tremendous asset to the Faculty of Health Sciences. Mr. Chancellor, may I present Professor Emeritus Gregory Marsh. Will Professor Volkan Nolte please step forward? Professor Nolte has been an assistant professor in biomechanics in the School of Kinesiology and head rowing coach of the Western Mustangs for 24 years. Under his leadership, the Mustangs won 19 Ontario and 10 Canadian University rowing championships. And as a coach of our Mustang rowing team, I had the privilege of being invited to join Coach Nolte on a little coaching session, and I was never invited back. So that kind of tells you about my skill set on that, but nevertheless, he's an outstanding coach. I digress, Mr. Chancellor. Returning to the main topic, Professor Nolte has been involved in many innovative coaching education initiatives, providing his expertise, developing course materials, mentoring numerous coaches, and presenting the scientific findings at conferences. He is an expert in rowing biomechanics, having published more than 150 scientific papers in peer-reviewed journals and rowing magazines. He has edited several rowing books. The 2 editions of Rowing Faster became the most recognized literature about the sport of rowing. He received the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2013 for his lifetime contribution to rowing education. Mr. Chancellor, may I present Professor Emeritus Volkan Nolte. Will Professor Thomas Oberon please step forward? Professor Oberon received his PhD in kinesiology from Western in 1992. He then trained as a physical therapist, graduating with a Bachelor of Science degree in 1994. He started as an assistant professor in the Department of Physical Therapy at Western in 1994 and was promoted to associate professor in 2001. Professor Oberon's research focused mainly on cardiorespiratory physical therapy. He has published 94 peer-reviewed articles and has presented his work at many national and international conferences. He served 2 terms on the executive of the Canadian Physiotherapy Association's Cardiorespiratory Division, including a 6-year term as co-chairperson. Professor Oberon was the director of the School of Physical Therapy from 2009 to 2014 and ended his illustrious career as the Assistant Dean of the Health and Rehabilitation Sciences Graduate Program. Mr. Chancellor, may I present Professor Emeritus Thomas Oberon. Will Professor Alan Salmoni please step forward? Professor Salmoni joined the School of Kinesiology as director in 2001. He served in the role for 5 years and then returned to his research, which has focused on aging and ergonomics. His work has been interdisciplinary, often combining a number of areas conceptually and methodologically, such as his important work on falls prevention in seniors. His research program has included innovative methodological approaches and community-based programming focused on helping people in communities improve their well-being. But Alan is most well known on our campus for his outstanding teaching, where he imparts an infectious energy on our students, inspiring them to think in new and different ways. He was most recently involved in co-leading an interdisciplinary initiative supported by Western to support mental well-being in students through physical activity and healthy lifestyles. He has made immeasurable contribution to the lives of many students at the university. Mr. Chancellor, may I present Professor Emeritus Alan Salmoni. Graduates, it's now your turn. Will the candidates for degrees, diplomas, and certificates please rise? Mr. Chancellor, I'm very much honored to present to you the candidates who have successfully completed their academic programs at Western. I ask you to admit them to the degrees, diplomas, and certificates for which they have been recommended by the Senate of our university.
Under the authority vested in me by the Senate, you will be admitted to the degrees, diplomas, and certificates as shall be announced by the public orators.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor. Will the candidates please be seated? Mr. Chancellor, graduating students, colleagues, distinguished guests, convocation is the single most important time of celebration in the life of the university. Today we honor those graduating students who through determination, hard work, and intelligence have met the demanding standards of a Western degree. Today is also a proud day for all of us associated with Western, including our Board of Governors and Senate, our faculty, our staff, our alumni, and our friends in the community. It is wonderful to see so many members of our community of learning who have taken the time to join us and celebrate this important day in the lives of our graduates and the life of the university. Today, those of you crossing this stage join a special group known as Western alumni. That numbers more than 300,000 alumni living in 150 countries around the world. Mr. Jim Etherington is here representing our Alumni Association, and I would ask him to please stand and be recognized. Western's Board of Governors is charged with responsibility for the overall governance of this institution. Today we have with us Mr. Douglas Keddy, representing our Board of Governors, and I'd ask him to please stand and be recognized. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the parents, spouses, partners, children, relatives, and friends of our graduates who are here today. This celebration would not be possible without your loving support. I ask that our graduating class rise once again, turn around, face your family and friends, and give them a warm round of applause for supporting your journey. Now let me congratulate once again the remarkable students who graduate today with Western degrees. Today you become partners in the outstanding academic achievements of the University of Western Ontario. My warmest wishes to each and every one of you. We will now proceed with the granting of the degrees and diplomas. Before we do so, I have two special requests for those of you in the audience. First, as a courtesy to all graduates and their families, please hold your applause and other special forms of expressions of joy until the public orators signal when applause is appropriate throughout the ceremony. This will ensure that each graduate's name will be heard. Please be rest assured that we will provide you with the opportunity to, of course, acknowledge our graduates in batches. Second, we know that photographs are important for graduates and their families and friends. As you heard before the ceremony began, we are pleased to provide each graduate with a photograph of this special occasion. Therefore, we ask that you remain in your seats throughout the ceremony, and of course, feel free to take pictures from there. I now call on the public orators to introduce the candidates for degrees.
Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates, School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies for the degree Master of Arts. Okay. Christian Shu, Tasha McDonald, Daniel Kenneth Zittner. Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Master of Science. Cadence Maureen Baker, Benjamin Friedman, Rachel Nitsch. Marlo Julia Pecora, Jordan Smith, Jared Webster.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we have larger numbers of students in each graduating programs, we will lead the applause so that you will know when it's time to congratulate all of our graduates. Thanks.
Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates from the Faculty of Health Sciences for the degree Bachelor of Arts Honors Program. Faisal Osama Abu Arub, Benjamin Alton, Jordan Elizabeth Amascado. Ali Hassan Ansari, Stuart Argo, Saeed Shahir Awada. Melissa Victoria Bale, Matthew Banayan, Nicole Sandra Baranowski. Paige Elizabeth Barrett, Abby Marie Barron, Dania Laurel Fridel Berkovich. Merhu Abel Berhe, Talia Mia Burkhoff, Sean Patrick Boyne. Megan Balmer, Chantal Campbell, Laura Catherine Carabat. Andrew Cateliff, Bernice Chan, Claudia Kityu Chan. Sija Tina Chen, Sharon Tinyan Cheng, Nathan David Christopher. Maria Anna Chihalevsky, Sarah Cooper, Vanessa Ann Margaret Crane. Hillary Jane Kraus, Sonia Svetkovich, Christina Ann Darby. Jessica Stephanie Ann Davy, Elizabeth Ann DeJong, Philip David DiCarlo. Raymond Michael DiLuretto, Catherine Dobry, Alexander Thomas Dosen. Sherilyn Durant, Courtney Dyke Elliott, Abdel Ibrahim Elmdawi. Okay. Amanda Nicole Enright, Ryan Erdman, Courtney Elaine Fairholm. Peter Fairman, Piper Ann Ferguson, Paula Finizio. Gianluca Forcelli, Carolyn Fraser, Silar Gardi. Sarah Catherine Garson, Cody Michael Getner, Destiny Faith Hackner.
Allison Hafner, Carly Sarah Handler, James Hayashi. Hannah Ann Higgins, Jordan Michelle Higgs, Kyra Rose Hill. Sarah Jane Hill, Bennett Wayne Ho, Kylie Holiday. Joyce Wong, Kylie Erin Hutchison, Taylor Jarvis. Connor David Johnson, Riley Jones, Arshvir Kaler. Matthew Keys, Riley Samantha Kitchen, Sophia Taylor Koladich. Cassandra Kramer, Sarah Adriana Kreening, Taylor Aaron Coomer.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to join me in congratulating those students who have already crossed the stage.
Stephanie Lauren Lands, Curtis Craig Lewin, Rachel Annette Lewis. Ryan Lightfoot, Ishan Lim, Julia Louise Lintak. Paige Alexandra Lucille Logan, Justin McDonald, Lucas McCrae. Emily Manka, Brendan Martin, Paula Alejandra Matamoros Carvajal. Austin Tyler McDonald, Christiane Helen Mikhail Gione, Sydney Alexandra Mills. Christopher Millward, Brianna Montgomery, Bruno Mucci. Brianna Patricia Muir, Caitlin Jordan Murphy, Tahara Nathu. Joshua Neto, Emily Ann Newton, Lisa Naomi Ng. Than Nguyen Nguyen, Jennifer Lee Nichols, Ida Nurbaksh. Kristen Elizabeth Nugent, Caitlin Joy O'Brien, Samuel Quinton O'Neill. Cherise Lorena Parrish, Jared Planky, Rachel Nadine Optoff. Sarah Pianowski, Kaylee Pittard, Laura Ann Polowick. Jessica Mary Pomeroy, Rachel Ashley Pontus, Azin Popat. Megan Claire Price-Jones, Nicolina Rachevich, Talia Ranjbar. Alexandra Margaret Reeve, Matthew Craig Reynolds, Kennedy Felice Ingrata. Mark Adam Rukavina, Lauren Elizabeth Russell, Sharir Sabri. Babak Salmoni, Cami Georgia Ryan, Kaylee Sangster. Alana Shilby, Adam Nicholas Schmidt, Jenna Nicole Schonbacher. Caitlin Stephanie Seo, Eric William Glaister Shantz, Riley Schipple, Chaturi Silva, Cyprianthi Srikandan, Julie Steffler, Ashley Ann Stoyanovich, Teresa Beverly Sturba, Mackenzie Taylor Strong, Marissa Ashley Sermanchewski, Victor Richard Studeny, Rachel Tam, Daniel Douglas Templin, Taylor Stephen Traxel, Melanie Ann Francis Trolley, Stephanie Tsemis, Tiana Lauren Ulrich, gold medalist, Caden Robert Van Helden, Zachary Van Lowe, Lydia Almeda Van Overloop, Mark Daniel Vita, Shtanya Warrich, Whitney Sierra Daniela Way, Amanda Marie Wilms, Jacqueline Tova Whitkin, Sela Wolf, Sarah Nicole Young, Stephanie Ann Zabin, Adam Zabian, Mallory Zworth,
Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Bachelor of Science Honours Programs. Nadav Amar, Cassidy Sierra Banks, Julia Veronica Bell. Alexandra Anna Bilchak, Jessica Rachel Bolton, Devin Kenneth Box. Rajan Singh Brar. Kalena Sabine Brook. Daniel David Brown. Madison Sky Brown. Justin Anthony Kamanzuli. Ryan Xinglong Cheng. Catherine Elizabeth Clark. Nicole DeGursey. Christina Nicole Devine. Rachel Rose Filler, gold medalist. Tae-Hun Ha. Scott William David Harrison. Zerantos Ioannidis, Matthew Michael Conkey, Carson Louis Kennis. Julia Valerie Kobolansky, Colin Cruz, Lauren Nicole Lang. Justin Darrell Lamont, Mai Landau, David Leguyen. Jessica Levesque Lavoie, Yu Lee, Victoria Louisa Macchioni. Anthony Ethan Mulbrecht, Sarah Hannah Mason, Brittany Jane McKay. Katrina Millick, Eric Christian Neville, Danielle Kathleen Pelche. Brianna Peruzza, Kiana Raganin, Connor Rankin. Eric Patrick Renault, Samyar Salampur, Jessica Nicole Satosik. Dylan Lala Sharmat, Natalie Shields, Viviana Jeanette Schiffman. Ashley Simkovich, Cameron Taylor Lawrence Smith, Valerie Smith. Vanessa Smith, Spencer Blake Soberano, Marco Patrick Shermansky, gold medalist. Hannah Elizabeth Foulon Valentine, Lauren Valaka, Nancy Jin Zhu. Paige Sabine Young. Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts four-year program. A. Jackson Beam, Brett Leo Francis Brulot, Kimik Lamour Shin. Tara Victoria Dupuy, Emily Rose Edwards, Suad Hussein Farah. Emily Herman, Kristen Erica Lee Hilton, Ashley Giroux. Lester Louis Jordan Raffanon, Sahar Ram, Denny Situpan, Jessica Marie Tokia, Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts: Stephanie Lynn Parker, Pamela Caitlin Pike, Josie Lynn Schwartz. Bridget Jane Walker.
In the name of the Senate, I grant to the Registrar the authority to confer degrees, diplomas, and certificates to those candidates whose names appear in the official program but who are not present today. At this time, I invite Mr. Jim Etherington, representing our Alumni Association, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor. My remarks are very brief. On behalf of Western's Alumni Association, its volunteer board of directors, and our more than 300,000 alumni around the world, it's my honor to congratulate you and to welcome to each of you as our newest members. It'll be the second time around perhaps for some graduate students, but mostly it's the first time as your membership as an alum. On this occasion, I think it's important to be reminded of the very significant contributions made to our university by alumni over the past 140 years. Western alumni are widely recognized as faithful partners in the growth and success of our great university. In fact, when Western was established in 1878, it was largely because of the efforts of 36 alumni of Huron College, our mother institution. First classes opened in Western in 1881, 15 students. 2 years later, we had our first 2 graduates, and our first alumni received degrees, one in arts, one in medicine. Now, you might assume that this ceremony was much shorter than the one today, and that's for good reasons. Also, there wasn't a problem with parking because the car had not yet been invented, so that made things a little easier. The Alumni Association was founded in 1909, and alumni in increasing numbers have been a continuing, proud participant in the life and history of Western. These opportunities are now available to each of you. Finally, I remind you that following the ceremony, you, along with your family and friends, are invited to a reception in your honor, hosted by the Alumni Association, where each graduate will receive a class of 2019 pin, nice little pin. This reception will be held in the Mustang Lounge of the UCC building. I leave you with a final recommendation. Have a great life.
Before closing convocation, I wish to express my appreciation to all who've contributed to the success of the day. In particular, and on your behalf as well, I want to thank the University of Western Ontario Convocation Brass for their magnificent performance and their director, Professor James Mackay. May I request that the audience remain at their seats while the academic procession leaves the hall? Convocation is now adjourned.